Right now, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think Governor Brown's done a very good job of laying out the choices. He's been very matter-of-fact. He certainly hasn't understated the problem, but by the same token, he's not engaged in, over-the-top rhetoric. I think people understand that it's time to stop sort of just making our way from year to year, and that there needs to be a long-term solution in place. So I'm certainly clear that there are some challenges about getting a 2/3 vote to put this measure on the ballot. That's what it requires. But right now, I'm cautiously optimistic. The governor has proposed that we do $12.5 billion worth of cuts right now in anticipation of another $12 billion worth of revenue that would be on the ballot come June. The hard question is, do we identify that second $12 billion worth of cuts? I think that's a tough call. I think it's important for people to know what are the consequences of a no vote come June. On the other hand, kicking up that much dust right now could distract us from the task at hand, which is getting a budget done on a timely basis, making some important decisions in March, and then getting to yes in June on a ballot measure. It's clear that if the $12 billion in additional revenues aren't forthcoming, these are really a maintenance of existing tax revenues that expire July 1. If those revenues go away, we're probably looking at something like a $5 billion a year cut to K through 12 education. And to make that a little bit more real, that means we're talking about $800 a kid throughout California, given the fact there are 6 million school kids in California. So take that $800 a kid and multiply it by the 10,000 kids in your school district, or the 400 kids who go to your neighborhood elementary school, and you begin to get a sense of what the impact really is like. Certainly, as I talk to business leaders, I've tried to communicate to them that the kinds of things that they're anxious about, things like a split roll property tax that would affect commercial property, or an oil severance tax that comes up from time to time, these are things we're much more likely to see as measures of last resort if we don't have a broad-based measure that continues existing revenue sources beyond June. I think there's common cause here. I think folks who are a little anxious about seeing targeted tax measures should be inclined to support this kind of a broader-based approach that has all of us doing our share to make sure we fund things like public education that we care about. I am back again this legislative session with Senate Constitutional Amendment 5 this year. This is the measure that would provide for a 55% threshold for a local school parcel tax rather than the 2/3 that's currently required. We've struggled in the past with this one. It requires a 2/3 vote to go on the ballot. That means I need some help from my Republican colleagues. Thus far, they've not been inclined. But I think this is, particularly in tough times, a way we can let local folks make local choices about local needs for their kids. And if we're not able or willing to fund public education at an adequate level on a statewide basis, the least we can do is give local school districts a tool they can use to get it done themselves.